What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So yesterday, Sony did reveal new PlayStation hardware, finally giving us a look at the PSVR 2 headset. We'll be going over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Call of Duty, but not for this year, for 2023, as there is now a new report out there saying it's actually going to be skipping next year. And we're also going to be talking about Capcom coming under fire for that very generic-looking Street Fighter 6 logo. Turns out, it's even more generic than I thought. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below and ring that notification bell so you can keep up to date with all the uploads here on the channel. And we're going to start today with an update to a story we covered a little while ago, that being for this Wonder Boy collection with a rating that had popped up on the ESRB website. Well, it's now fully revealed. We got an entire trailer and a website to go along with it with all the different details. This is the Wonder Boy collection for the PlayStation 4 and the Nintendo Switch. Pre-orders will be starting soon, but this will include 4 different games from the series, that being Wonder Boy, Wonder Boy in Monsterland, Wonder Boy in Monster World, and then Monster World 4. They go over all the different details, as well as showing off 2 different versions of the game, physical copies, one for the Switch, one for the PS4. And it will have filter and shader options, rewind, fast forward. You can save anytime. There's also an entire art gallery you can go through. This is pretty cool stuff here. They just said it's coming soon, so we'll have to wait for a concrete release date, but it does appear like they are at least setting it up for release this year. But like I said, I do like to see these different collections come out, especially for something like Wonder Boy, which is certainly a series that most people probably have not played, and 4 games there with a physical copy, certainly worth checking out. Also, we do have a couple of releases coming up this week. Obviously, the big one is Elden Ring. I'm very excited for that, but there's another game that's coming out this Friday, same day as Elden Ring, which is unfortunate. That's Grid Legends. And the game itself looks cool. It's Grid, but they're trying to lean more into like the story aspect of it, with entire scenes being filmed and all of this. But the good news is, if you wanted to at least check it out and you're a subscriber to Game Pass Ultimate or EA Play, there is a full 10-hour trial you can do right now. Actually load it up and start playing the game immediately. This is something that EA does with a lot of their titles, like Need for Speed Heat had this, and I actually played quite a bit of it before I even had to buy the game, so I might check this out. My only issue right now is there's just too many games to play. Seriously, I am trying to go through Horizon, at least get a majority of the story done in that game before Elden Ring comes out, because once that happens, everything else kind of gets put to the side. And I'm trying to go through Elden Ring, and then it's like, oh, okay, here comes Triangle Strategy, then Gran Turismo, then we get to like Final Fantasy Origins, and then we get to Kirby, and it's just like, when will I have time for Grid Legends? It's a shame, because the game looks interesting. I do like a lot of these racing games, but just no time. Oh, and here's good news. If you're someone who's getting really annoyed with all these pesky launchers on PC, we can see this posted up over on Bethesda.net saying sunsetting the Bethesda.net launcher and migrating to Steam. We're saying goodbye to the Bethesda.net launcher this year. Starting in early April, you'll be able to migrate your games and wallet to your Steam account. So again, if you're someone who has all these launchers set up and you get annoyed having to go into each one, this is great to see, and maybe it gives us some insight into Microsoft's plans for the Battle.net launcher, which is something people have wondered, wait, if Microsoft, when they do acquire all that stuff goes through, we'll say, does that mean that that launcher will kind of go away and things will then start moving back to Steam and then maybe into the Windows Store with Game Pass and start to get rid of all of these launchers you have on your desktop? I see a lot of people get frustrated with Epic Game Stores, so maybe we'll get to that point where Microsoft, as we're seeing here, get rid of Bethesda and then Battle.net. You don't have to deal with maybe 1 or 2. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with the PlayStation VR 2. We did have a new hardware reveal from Sony yesterday, that being the headset itself finally being shown off. Remember, we saw the controllers and all of this with the features that were just laid out last year, and it seemed like they were kind of building up maybe the reveal for the headset, but then they just dropped the PlayStation blog post going over it and showing us pictures, which you can see here. This from the PlayStation blog. First look, the headset design for PlayStation VR 2, and as we were expecting, kind of matches up the same shape and two-tone design of those orb controllers that they had shown off previously. It does have, this is the only thing that's kind of frustrating and concerns me a bit, a cable that does not look like it's detachable. It's basically just like seized to the headset. I would have preferred to have a detachable cable, mostly because if the cable itself gets frayed or damaged or even bent up in some way, you would then just be able to replace that cable. Does not look to be the case here. But the look of the headset, I do like. It has that kind of minimalist look to it, and it looks slimmer than the first PlayStation VR headset. In fact, Sony says one of their biggest focuses was on the weight, which, I mean, that makes sense. You're going to be wearing this thing around while you're playing, and there is legit fatigue if the headset is just heavy. The idea I think we're trying to get to with VR is to where it doesn't even feel like you're necessarily wearing a headset, so you can get lost in the world that's kind of being presented to you in that headset. They also mentioned there's a vent that will allow the system itself to kind of circulate air through that headset. So that way you won't have your, like, the lenses inside fog up, which was a thing with the original PlayStation VR headset. They also mentioned the ability to adjust the lenses themselves inside, which is something we've grown accustomed to with other VR headsets now. As I said, that first PlayStation VR headset, while it was cool to have then, you try to use it now and it is way behind pretty much any of the other headsets out now. But with the specs and features they've been describing for almost a year now with this headset, it does seem like it's going to be up there in like the top tier of VR experiences. And of course, the cost is going to come into play here pretty soon because they've just shown us everything we need about this headset outside of games. We, of course, see that Horizon game that will be coming out, I think, alongside of this headset as like a launch title. But otherwise, they need to show compelling software that will get people to want to buy into what's going to be an expensive accessory. I'm thinking $500 is the floor for this headset. Yeah, it's going to cost the same as a PlayStation 5 system, and even more so than the digital version of the PS5. So it's up to Sony to show off games that'll make people want to go to that VR ecosystem, considering the only other way you can really get people on board is for them to experience it, but for them to experience it, most likely they'd have to buy it. Unless you go to like a Best Buy or a place that has like demo units set up. Maybe Sony makes a big push for that and you can actually just go try out the PlayStation VR 2 at a bunch of big box stores. But that's my biggest hope now, is that Sony goes more, I guess, just all in when it comes to games here, because it felt like they were really interested in that original PlayStation VR headset and they kind of just fell off a bit, at least from a first-party perspective. There were some other good third-party games that got released for that headset, but this one, much more capable, and if they want to make a big splash immediately alongside of Horizon, go get Half-Life Alyx from Valve and have that drop on there immediately as well. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of the details here, mostly price, release date, and then, of course, a bunch of games. Next up, let's talk about Call of Duty 2023. Of course, we're still waiting for the big reveal of Call of Duty 2022, but if you think about that next Call of Duty, that will, I guess, be after Microsoft has acquired Activision Blizzard, which means then Microsoft will be running things. Well, it looks like that title in particular could actually be delayed, and Call of Duty would be missing its yearly release cycle. We can see this posted up from Tom Henderson saying Activision is set to delay next year's Call of Duty title. This will be the first title in nearly 2 decades where the franchise won't have a yearly Call of Duty. Looks like a lot is riding on Modern Warfare 2. I do want to point out, this is based on a report from Bloomberg. At the time of this recording, it was only available to terminal, or people who have the ability to access Bloomberg Terminal. By the time you see this recording, it's probably posted up online. So we may circle back around and check this out a bit more, maybe on the second channel, because this is a big deal. Call of Duty is basically there every single year, like without fail, to release during the holidays. And that's just how Activision had this set up, with 3 different studios running things, Infinity Ward, Treyarch, and Sledgehammer. And they would just kind of hand things off and have supporting studios help them get to the finish line if needed. But that started to really just engulf all of the studios basically just working on Call of Duty, which cut down on a lot of the creativity that we would like to see. Maybe a new Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, who knows what else these different studios could come up with outside of running support for Warzone or the latest Modern Warfare. And while I'd like to think that Microsoft will step back and say Call of Duty doesn't have to be there every single year, or at least a brand new one, they could update Warzone or even maybe have one Call of Duty run for 2-3 years and then the new Call of Duty comes out, this would actually make sense either way, because if Activision started to formulate a plan for Call of Duty 2023, they would have to be doing that basically when the Call of Duty 2022 releases, which means they would lock Microsoft in, for the most part, to have this roadmap internally for development set, even if Microsoft came in and finished the acquisition in, we'll say, February 2023. Well, they're already all set up with plans in place to release this Call of Duty. But I'm sure more information will be coming out around this, and I like the idea of Call of Duty going to a 3, maybe even 4-year cycle, because then it'd be really exciting when a Call of Duty comes out. Now it's just like, okay, yeah, another Call of Duty will happen next year, but if we get to a point where it's like you gotta wait 3 or 4 years, that absence of a brand new title will work to build up the hype and anticipation, kind of like how it used to be back in the day. I know even then we were getting these yearly releases, but like it was genuinely a big deal when a Call of Duty game was coming out in like the mid to late 2000s, whether it was Modern Warfare 2, of course, Black Ops. There's a ton of hype online. So I would like to see Call of Duty get back to that point, but also have some of those studios work on different, more creative projects. Next up, let's talk about Capcom and that Street Fighter 6 logo. As soon as I saw it, I said, this is like the most generic looking logo I think I've ever seen, especially in the Street Fighter franchise, where you see those and they're like massive, bold, colorful logos, some of them looking like they're done with paintbrushes, and it's just very creative. And then you see that and it's like, that looks stock. Turns out it might actually be stock. We can see this tweet posted up this by Orc saying the new Street Fighter 6 logo is $80 on Adobe stock site. I don't even know what to say. I knew it was generic, but I didn't realize it was this bad. They searched for SF on a stock logo site and rounded a couple corners and added the 6. I mean, that's pretty close. I mean, that would be a shocking coincidence, I guess. Some people are saying, well, no, look, we can look at the layers and it does appear that they created it from scratch. Others are saying, no, it looks like they just used this and changed a few things up, warped some things, and then boom, gave it 6 emails, there's Street Fighter 6. Either way, this is bad for Capcom, because either they did just take this stock image, and apparently the person who created this and has it posted up on Adobe is willing to sell it to Capcom. So either they did lift that, changed some things up and said, hey, here's our brand new super unique logo, or the logo is so generic, people can't tell the difference from a stock set or a stock graphic that is being sold on Adobe and your logo. Like that to me is just how poor the overall logo is for Street Fighter 6. Capcom hasn't made any comment on this, and we'll see if they do, because if they have been caught, well, they're gonna have to figure something out here. Some people were saying that might have been a placeholder logo for Street Fighter 6. Why would you put a placeholder logo in the teaser itself, the big grand reveal? I think that's legitimately their logo, at least a plan they had for their logo. Maybe if this is a thing that happened and they just like, well, we got caught, we got to change it up, they will. But either way, once they showed it, I was like, that's the most generic looking thing I've ever seen. Turns out they went Adobe generic. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Nintendo and their Amiibos. They did announce a new Amiibo here, but to be honest, I just haven't really seen as much excitement or interest in Amiibos, not like how it used to be back in the day. I mean, we just had new ones for Metroid, we had some new ones for Skyward Sword, and now it looks like you can see here from Nintendo America on Twitter, the Min Super Smash Bros. Amiibo will be stretching onto the scene April 29th. They also go on to note that Steve and Alex Smash Bros. Amiibos were previously announced to launch in spring 2022. However, due to a logistics and production delay, unfortunately the release timing has been delayed to later in 2022. And I mean, I figured Nintendo probably was running into some issues with the supply chain shipping and the pandemic and all of this. I mean, even just creating things made out of material like plastics and all that, it is becoming a problem. I think it's getting a little bit better now, but you see Amiibos getting delayed out. Obviously, there are issues when it comes to the logistics side of things, but I don't know. Is it just me? Have Amiibos kind of fallen off a bit at least? Let me know if you used to really collect Amiibos back in the day and you've kind of cooled off on it, because I just remember the initial wave and like hype around Amiibos. Even I went out and bought one, the little villager, but even since then, I just kind of was like, oh, it's cool. It's like a little figure you can collect, but then people would just leave them in the packaging anyway and wouldn't use them. So I don't know, let me know if maybe I'm missing it here and they're still really, really popular. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're gonna take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, which March game release are you most excited for? Kirby and the Forgotten Land, 52%, with Gran Turismo 7 being 17%, and then Triangle Strategy at 13%. Looking at this, you know what? I guess out of all of the releases for March, Kirby is the one that I'm most intrigued by because it's such a massive shift for the Kirby franchise. And after that, I guess I'm most excited for Gran Turismo 7, and then Triangle Strategy, and then Stranger of Paradise. Ghostwire Tokyo is probably at the bottom of my list now, and that's kind of because I'm still not really sure what to expect out of that game now. But looking at this, I think I'm gonna be checking all of these games out. And that's what I've been saying. It's just like game after game after game has been coming out, and it doesn't look like it's slowing down anytime soon. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Nazir saying, isn't strange that Square always says the games didn't meet their expectations? They are either bad at marketing or bad at setting up sales expectations. This is mostly around Guardians of the Galaxy. Of course, we look to many others. Avengers definitely didn't, but I also feel like that Marvel license isn't cheap, so they have pretty high expectations for these games just based around the intellectual properties. And then Disney is infamous to not be easy to work with when it comes to Star Wars or Marvel or any of that stuff because it ties into their merchandise and their movies. And for them, it's mostly a way to just advertise these further. So I'm sure Square's like, oh, don't worry, we're gonna sell tens of millions of copies and have all this engagement with Avengers, and we'll sell these microtransactions for new costumes that may show up in movies. And like, there's a lot of tie-in here, and when they have to show up Disney and say, well, it didn't go over that well, yeah, they have to say it didn't meet expectations. But at this point, by I would say just marketing better for Guardians of the Galaxy, separating it from what happened with Avengers, and showing people that the game is actually good and something you could play completely single player offline on like your PlayStation, I think that game could continue to sell and maybe eventually meet their expectations. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here. Today was the new PlayStation VR 2 headset finally revealed, what it looks like. Are you interested in jumping into VR with this headset? Let me know about that. Also, what about Call of Duty potentially being delayed from its expected 2023 release? Do you think it's a good idea for Microsoft to take Call of Duty and make it more of a 2, 3, even 4-year cycle for release? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.